I'm doing this whole commentary thing about ass backwards by doing the last episode of the Final Fantasy VIII series first, but screw it, I figured you guys needed a bit of an explanation as to what the hell was going on with the site. And this is kind of a long story that you may or may not be interested in, but if you're listening, you're probably interested. But really what started this whole thing was that my brother got his own place, and so I asked him if I could move in with him because, well, I kind of needed to get out of the house and kind of strike out on my own. You know, I think Dr. Insano mentions at this point I'm 28 and still living with my folks, so I needed to get out of there and get my own place, and so it was a pretty good move. Hang on a second. This is probably the first time you ever see Dr. Insano in the room with me, and I think it's kind of cute how people try to figure out the continuity here. There's no continuity. There is only Insano. This is a split screen effect. It's a little more complicated than a split screen. I used what's called a mask, but in essence, it's a split screen. This is one of the more obvious examples of a split screen, especially since you never see me actually hand the remote off to myself. It cuts real fast to me getting handed the remote in close-up. Anyway, so I decided I was going to move to a new place, but that meant I would be moving out of my old place, of course. So that meant you would never see me in my room again, you know, the room you're actually so familiar with. It's actually kind of become a character in its own right, you know, how you're kind of seeing me in my bedroom do this whole stuff, you know, typical lonely guy type thing. And I thought it would kind of confuse and in some cases frighten you if all of a sudden I just appeared in a new room without any explanation. And I thought it was kind of maybe a little tacky, or at least tackier than normal for me to just make a vlog about it or just do a blog post about it. I kind of wanted to be a little over melodramatic about it. So I started thinking, like, what could I do in a review to give the room a send-off? And so I thought, you know, what better way than to give it an explosive send-off? And so I started thinking for days, really, how to do this thing. And so I thought, well, what if I got into, like, a fight or something? And so I thought, well, how would the room explode? And so I started thinking this really weird narrative, in which case the room would get destroyed in some kind of battle, or I would destroy it myself. And this is what it kind of resulted in. I decided I would have some kind of fight with the Final Fantasy characters, and I started trying to figure out a way to set that up. So that the entire structure of this whole the frame story, you know, where Dr. Insano kind of turns on me and sends Squall to kill me. Why? Well, because he's insane. Duh. But I had this idea where Squall would attack me and I'd fight him, and I initially had a much more grandiose fight scene planned with Squall, where I would kind of sword fight myself. But and I actually could have done it with what I've learned in effects software and my nonlinear editing software. I probably could have done a much more grandiose and climactic fight scene. But the big problem with the room, and has always been the big problem with the room, is that it's way, way too small for my purposes. Like, really all I was ever capable of to do in this room is sit in a chair, put a camera across from me like this, and talk at it. Because the camera right now is basically at the back of the room. It's not that easy to shoot with any kind of composition. So anytime you see me out of the chair doing anything, I have had to move furniture. This is why it's always been really hard to do myself, because I have to set the camera up, and to set the camera up I have to move furniture. I have to get it to where there's some kind of semblance of good lighting, and the lighting in my room is actually notoriously really bad. Not because the lights themselves are bad, but because it's just such close quarters. You're going to get a lot of glare off my face because I'm so close to the light itself. So sitting down is actually really helpful in that score, because it's not really glaring off my face. When I'm standing up, lighting is very difficult. So I was kind of glad to get out of the room anyway, and so I started thinking, how would I ever justify destroying the room? And so I actually really liked the search for Spock, and so I always liked that scene where Kirk blows up the Klingons with the self-destruct mechanism, so I blatantly rip it off. And I really wanted to kill Squall, and yeah, I have a Squall costume. I bought it especially for the Final Fantasy VIII series of reviews. Not for this specifically, but when I decided I was going to move out, a lot of things changed. I basically dropped everything. I actually had a lot of scripts ready to shoot and was actually editing a different review at the time, but in my I don't want to call it a rush, but I really wanted to make this review a priority, so I stopped everything. I had nothing written for this. I wrote the whole thing from beginning to end. I had to play and finish the game to get all the footage, And then the process of shooting, which was the longest and most arduous shoot I've ever done because of all the effects and all the split screen and all the costume changes. I play 3 characters in this. So it was really hard keeping all the shots straight. I basically had to storyboard, which I've never really storyboarded in my life, but I had to get all these shots down. The other reason it was so difficult was because this scene made no fucking sense. There's an extended minigame where you have to choose and teach all the characters how to play musical instruments because they all want to make Squall feel better. Like, he's really emo all the time, so he's depressed. So, like, we'll play him a happy song. And I love this bit where Dancing Collins River dances. Apparently this was some kind of glitch in the thing. And anyway, what made this really difficult on top of all that was moving, because I'm not the most physically fit guy, and I have all this furniture and stuff I have to move, and I have a lot of crap. I have so many books, it's not even funny. So I was tired, I was stressed, and worst of all, I started getting really, really ill. And even now I'm not sure what it is. It was probably a combination of a lot of stress kind of piling on at once. But I was so headachy and like mentally foggy and stomach cramps, shortness of breath. It was such a bummer editing this thing. And I have fun shooting it. I love shooting it. But I was really sick for most of this, and I'm actually only now starting to feel any better. I guess that you might make that a really good argument against the stress thing, so now that it's done, I'm starting to feel better. But this was a very time-consuming thing to play as an RPG. It takes a long time to play these things. It's not quite as fast as an action game. So that was kind of my love-hate thing with Final Fantasy VIII. As a review, I love doing it, and I love the reaction it got, but it took so long to shoot, and it took forever to edit, because with most games, like an NES game, I can use save states and things like that. I'm not doing it to cheat. It's because I can get specific moments that I want to call out, and I can do it very quickly. With an RPG, on the other hand, this has like untold hours of gameplay, and I probably got through this in maybe 30, 40 hours, something like that. But that's a lot of footage to get. I got almost every second of it. And so when you're searching for a specific line, a specific moment, and you jump around as much as I do in these reviews, it takes a long time. I had to be so careful and meticulous to catalog and create clips of every single moment I wanted to get, that it just took a long time. And combine that with the special effects, for me anyway, a special effects extravaganza at the end. Those took a long time to render, set up, shoot, and make sure they looked good. But worst of all, the problem was my camera was starting to crap out. And this is the last thing I think you'll ever see me shoot on the camera that I've always used, basically from the beginning, the Sony DV cam that I was using, a really faithful camera. But I think age just started to catch up with it. The microphone input crapped out, which you've heard. I've told you about that. But not only that, the onboard microphone was starting to give out on me, too. I was only able to get sound, really, from one side of the onboard microphone. And you'll notice, whenever you cut to live shots of me, that the audio is nowhere near as good. In fact, you kind of hear me shouting across the room in several cases. So in some cases, I actually had to do, I forget what it's called. There's some kind of technical term for it. But I had to shoot lines and kind of sync it up with the footage you see. And it doesn't always pull off. I think the first scene is probably the worst in terms of sync. I think Dr. Insane was not quite lined up. I got a story about the sound effect. Whenever you hear that bling sound effect, whenever I hit the remote, I think you also hear it when Son of Insano appears. I love that sound effect, and I spent days, I'm not kidding, this is how sad I am, I spent days combing the internet looking for that sound effect. It's some kind of magical bling sound effect. I remember hearing it on a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, so I was trying to find, I couldn't find it online. I tried to find clips of it on old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, so I was looking up Hanna-Barbera cartoons on YouTube. Couldn't find it. I watched so much like Mighty Mightor and the show with that genie that the kids summon with their rings, and just so many shows, and I could never seem to remember or catch that sound effect. And eventually, I think I just found a totally unrelated clip on YouTube that had it in perfect condition. And even now I can't remember where the clip was, but I just lucked, pure luck. I wasn't even looking for it, and all of a sudden I hear the sound effect. So I snapped that right up. I don't know why. That sound effect is so cheese. It's beautiful. I forget where I was. Actually, most of the sound effects were really hard to find in this, and choosing good sound effects was really key to this review, so you knew what was going on. And I actually did not have that many sound effects before then. I had to search for most of these. For instance, the sound of the sword going into my gut, that splorky sound, not as easy as you might think to manufacture or find. You know, you could Foley it yourself, I guess, but a lot of those sound effects were not easy. You know, that naming Renoa a whore paid off in so many ways. It's not fair. She's not a whore, but I always like to make jokes that she was nailing Cypher, so, you know, how loose is she? I never got this about the game, how, like, they spend half the game trying to find these characters, and then somebody demands they hand that character over, so they do immediately without a fight. Like these guys on a boat find Alone, and they're like, hand her over, and the guys go, okay, even though she's proven to have, like, time travel powers. They don't know her significance yet, but she can send people back through time, and they're just like, oh, here, please take her. This guy, representative of the Umbrella Corporation. But Renoa, there's an instance where Renoa gets possessed by a sorceress, and she gets the powers of a sorceress. So these guys go, she's dangerous, hand her over. Squall goes, okay. It's the most retarded scripting I've ever heard. And by the way, none of you guys will ever convince me that the whole Norg thing makes any sense at all. What I'm kicking myself most about when it comes to the Dr. Insano appearance here is I'm wearing my stethoscope wrong. I'm kind of wearing it around my neck. Most doctors kind of loop it around the back of their neck. I love the little ting sound. But they don't really wear it with the earpieces around their neck. They loop the little rubber hose around their neck like that. I was watching Scrubs, which is where the whole man card thing came from. And all the doctors wear their stethoscopes like that, and I was like, oh, geez, I should reshoot this where I'm wearing the stethoscope properly. But hey, Dr. Insano is no real doctor, am I right? Oh, I remember what I was talking about. The camera. Not only was like every facet of the sound hookup crapping out on me, the camera itself was starting to act really strangely. Like I would have power hooked up, everything was working right, and I would turn the camera on, and it just wouldn't turn on. You know, I'd flip the switch, nothing would happen, and so I'd turn it off, turn it on, nothing would happen again. Then I'd turn it on again, and all of a sudden, oh, it would start up. So I was really starting to get nervous about it using this camera, and I started to think, I'm going to shoot all this crap, and it's not going to come out, because I've done that before. I've shot entire vlogs, like 45 minutes of footage, and nothing's come out, either because I've had the microphone accidentally turned off, which I have never done again. I always do sound checks. When the audio hookup went bad, I filmed an entire review. I filmed all of Street Fighter with no sound, resulting with no sound. Selfie out of her fucking mind. I was going to make a joke about butt sex in space, but I was talking about the huge intergalactic popped zit. But anyway, I had to get a new camera because it wasn't just an isolated incident anymore. It was basically everything was starting to break down. So everyone was hugely generous in donating money. You guys donated so much money to the cause to help me get a new camera. So from now on, you're going to see things with a new camera that I actually had to pay very little for when it comes after donations. And so thank you guys, everyone, for chipping in and helping me keep this thing going, because I could just not keep shooting anything with that old camera. I was going to have to resort to, like, I don't know what, shooting with a webcam or something like that. I probably could have bought a really cheap DV cam, but you'd notice the drop in quality. And maybe you guys wouldn't care so much, but I cared. I really want to make a good product that sounds good, looks good. And I'm going to miss this room, I got to tell you. It's whatever room I replace it with, you're probably going to kind of miss the cramped, nostalgic feeling of it. But this is really what I remember from the game, is Eyes on Me. I think everyone really just remembers this. And I'm not kidding when I said nerds were really, really moved by this song. I mean, they thought this was beautiful. And I've even gotten whole tribute songs. Like, I've had people send me videos of them singing this song for me, like a cappella. And this is before this, for like years before I did this. Like, when I did the very first episode of this, people were sending me like tribute videos of Final Fantasy VIII, how much they love this, and they sung me, like men would sing me Eyes on Me. As I remember the one, and I kick myself to this day, I deleted this video. somebody sent me a video of them taking a video camera tour of their room, which is basically covered from front to back in Final Fantasy VIII memorabilia as he sung to the camera, Eyes on Me. And it's simply amazing. Like, he really doesn't sing that well, but it's just surreal. I thought I was watching some kind of David Lynchian fantasy of just weirdness, as this guy was just, he was serenading me with Eyes on Me. He was really proud of this thing, so he posted this video on my forum, and I deleted it like instantly. And I emailed him. I said, you know, look, I know where you're coming from, and I know your heart was in the right place, but you can never show this to anybody, for real. Like, you will never, ever live this down. Like, this would be Star Wars kid level of infamy if I showed this to you. And that's why I'm kicking myself, because were I an evil person, I probably would have plastered this all over the front page. Because it was really, really funny and disturbing at the same time. And I said, like, I'm telling you because, like, I know you're my fan, and like I don't want to see my fans embarrass myself, but like never show this to anybody. It's yikes. It was just like, you will thank me later on in life. Just never show that. Like, and I'm glad this is all going to remain anonymous, because I was always sorely tempted to include footage of that one if I could still find it in this review and just stun the world. There was much to do in the comments about those little Final Fantasy VIII dolls in the background. They said they were writing me like, you are such a hypocrite. You say you hate this game, and yet you have dolls. You have dolls, man. And like they stopped trusting me. Like, they're like, how can we trust you? Like, what you say anymore? You say you hate, but you have dolls, dude. This is from a real manga. There's a lot of porno manga that I don't know how they get away with this in terms of copyright. But apparently, like any given franchise, you can find some serious hardcore, like, bisexual, gay, straight, any kind of porn you want. And like Final Fantasy VIII, that's easy, you know, like that's not even challenging to find. But Japan, man, they love their porn, and God bless them, because they gave me some classic footage. But wow, like seriously, you don't have to look hard to find this kind of porn. But yeah, the entire second half of that manga is Cypher and Renault, a hardcore, balls out every position you can think of, man. He nails her, like he does the nail. Anyway, the dolls. I did not buy the dolls. Those dolls were donated by a fan, okay? I did, like I'll never be able to live down now because I actually bought a costume, but the dolls were donated, and they're actually very nice dolls. So thank you to the fan who donated those. Nobody I talked to when I told them that I was going to compress time for this review and finish it off in one go. They weren't really supportive of it. They thought it was kind of a bad idea. I guess partially because they wanted to see it go on a lot longer. But actually, you know, it works. I think it really works this way. Yeah, by the way, like his plan to restore time is to just believe in friendship and love. And like this, nobody objected to this plan. But okay, where was I? They didn't like the fact that I was going to finish the review in one go, but I actually think it works well this way, because I had kind of said everything I wanted to say about Final Fantasy VIII. Like, almost every other segment of this review was kind of picking on a specific aspect of this game or some part of the gameplay. Like, I think at the beginning I talk about Triple Triad, or I talk about drawing magic, or I talk about the combat system, how I don't like that, or just really bullshit stuff when it comes to junctioning and the GFs and things like that. So everything was very specific. So, you know, top to bottom, I hated this game. And even though I really liked, I think it was number 9, where they're escaping from the jail, I started to realize that if I was going to go this in-depth on every single level and development, like kind of basically doing a Let's Play of it, from beginning to end, I was never going to finish. This thing was going to be like 30, 40 parts long. And although that one was funny, I just didn't think I could maintain that kind of momentum all the way through, because actually discs 3 and 4 are very straightforward. If you're avoiding side quests, and you know me, I hate the side quests of this game, there's really not much to it. Like, you kind of follow the plot line, you reach the castle, you beat the castle, and there you are. So really, I didn't skip all that much. There was one part I do wish. People keep mentioning the fact that if you have the Odin GF, Cypher manages to kill it in one hit, even though he's fucking useless the entire time. But and all the side quests with all the various GFs, like you can summon the garden to attack for you and things like that. But I even when I was playing this at first, and I was kind of prone to taking these side quests, I wasn't really interested. I just really wanted to get this one over with. But it never really thrilled me, and I love Doom Train. I remember there's a lot of fans of Doom Train. I'm sure there are a lot of strategies. I've seen people beat this game every way possible, like all physical, no physical, all magic, no GFs, things like that. But really, I beat this game the same way I beat it the last time, was using the Aura spell, keeping Squall in the party, and just using Lionheart the entire time. And I found Lionheart the hard way, like usually you have a strategy guide or some online guide to tell you the parts you need. I basically started refining stuff to find Lionheart myself. And I did it the hard way. So Lionheart is kind of indispensable for these later levels, because the last bosses start to have some seriously sadistic amounts of hit points, and Ultimecia has like 4 different phases. Kind of my main strategy was to cast haste on everyone, cast aura on everyone, have Renoa use her invincible moon thing, and then Lionheart just constantly just haste Lionheart. And that was really what was annoying, was Squall doesn't want to do Lionheart most of the time. He just kind of does a blasting zone, which is this animation that takes like 30 goddamn seconds. This is green screened, and I actually do not like to bust out the green screen that much. I probably will a little more in the future, but I don't like to rely on it as a rule for a couple reasons. One, I actually have some very good software that helps remove the effects of bad lighting, and so again, in my room, there's bad lighting, and so I can usually not do green screen that well. I got it lit pretty well here, but ordinarily I didn't like to do that. And secondly, most of the time it looks green screen, and so it's kind of cheesy. I shot this over the course of 2 days, and I didn't hurry, but I moved quickly on this one. I had to get every shot done quickly because I had to keep my look pretty consistent. I know you don't be worrying about continuity, but I tend to be kind of unshaven. I tend to go several days between shaving, and I had to keep the facial hair kind of consistent. So you'll notice Squall is clean-shaven. I am not. So that was one bit of a difference. Yeah, another thing people notice is that the scar is on the wrong side, which was semi-intentional, as in it's basically drawn on with an eyeliner marker or an eyeliner pencil. Yeah, that's it. I don't really have that much makeup, and so I thought if it was going to look cheesy, it might as well be wrong too. And so you could also argue this is not really Squall, but whatever. Yeah, I do own a Squall costume. I'm going to go back to that. Where did I get it? I got it. You can actually get this stuff mail order from China, and it actually fits really well. It's a really good costume, and the gunblade is made of wood, which is why I don't dwell on it too much. It looks fake, and it is fake. And that's another reason I didn't want to swing the sword around, because the room is so small I'd break something or hurt somebody, and I would probably catch the fan. But I didn't get the costume specifically for this fight. I think the original ending I had planned for this series was by the end I would become, like, completely crazy, and I would become, like, absorbed by the game, where I would become Squall. It was kind of a lame idea, but I figured I would work the costume. Wait, no, that scar is on the right. It is totally right. That scar is complete. I'm vindicated. The scar is correct. Suck it. Check the video of the ending, and the scar is on the exact right peg. That is actually the most difficult shot I just did, the stabbing, and the shot where I fly across the room. It's kind of... That's where I say it's a mask, not necessarily a split screen. I basically had to rotoscope myself with a mask, and it's kind of complex, too complicated for me to go in right now, but basically, if you're wondering how I did that, it's a mask with feathered edges, so the blade kind of looks like it's going in and through me. This is the one scene where I had to have my brother stand in as a double, where I'm punching Squall, and I also had to have someone operate the camera on handheld while I operated the puppet. But yeah, this was it took a lot of time to compile the special effects and make them look right, and like especially the kind of the aurora effect where Squall, when he starts summoning the fire spell that kind of swarms around him, that was really hard to get right. As was the smoke. The smoke from the remote and the burning hand was pretty difficult. That is the exact scene from The Search for Spock, where the captain blows up the Enterprise. If you're not familiar with that, shame on you. Watch Star Trek. It's good. This is a scene ripped from the new Police Story with Jackie Chan. You can actually see Jackie back there pushing a cart full of dead bodies, which I tried to cover up as best I could with some supplementary explosions. But yeah, you can still see him back there. It's actually, that was another thing I kind of spent days on, was looking for good footage of running away from an explosion. And I couldn't find anything. It was really hard. Like, I know there's a lot of... there's actually this guy on YouTube who has kind of a long-running series of big climactic movie explosions, but there really aren't that many in the classic vein of, like, Demolition Man, where he's running from this huge... like, down a big exploding hallway as the building just, like, erupts around him. That kind of stays on one sustained shot for that long. Usually they cut to other angles, and that's a good thing. That's good, you know, cinematography when you cut to more than one angle. But I couldn't use the Demolition Man footage. For one reason, I didn't have Demolition Man on DVD, which was strange. But, yeah, I had to look for a long time to find a kind of semi-sustained shot of a slow-motion explosion down a hallway I could run from, where I could also kind of cover up the action star doing it. So I was actually really lucky to find New Police Story to use that one. And yeah, I do actually do the Stallone thing. A lot of people wanted me to go Phoenix. I guess I should have done Phoenix, but my mouth wasn't doing the Phoenix thing. It was going this one took a long time to do as well. Pretty much everything took a while to do, but this one in particular, a lot of people said, why didn't you do the ending? You know what? Basically, this is it. This is the ending. It's a little edited up to match the song. I kind of wanted to give the entire thing a very, not a prolonged, but kind of an extended send-off. You know, kind of my, in some ways, this is my apology to the Final Fantasy VIII characters and the fans for really putting them through, you know, about 2 hours of just prolonged punchings in the groin for liking this game. You know, I'm not really a mean-spirited guy. I come in peace. And, you know, just after I called you pussies, I subjected you to this 5-minute rendition of the Pussy song. So, yeah, by connection, you're all pussies. You know what? So am I, because I spent about a week editing this thing together. So how much of a pussy does that make me? You know, I made a music video matching all the characters of this song, so come on. No, I'm nothing if not the ultimate hypocrite. Yeah, this is the ending, though. I mean, everything... I pretty much show the ending a little chopped up, but this is basically it from beginning to end. Everything ends up pretty happily. I mean, after they kill the sorceress, the time stream kind of fucks around for a little bit, and it readjusts, and pop, everything's back to normal. Cypher quits being a mercenary and takes up fishing, hanging out with Fujin and Raijin. That's one thing I never mentioned about Fujin, was her propensity to just scream one-word sentences like rage. Things like, I never got that. This is the one mistake I'm told that I made this entire time, where this is not Julia. This is apparently Squall's mother, Rain, who I followed the main plot line, and I never once encountered this woman. I seriously don't know who the hell Rain is supposed to be. Apparently you run into her, or you find some information that ties Squall to Laguna to Rain in the side quests or some information screens, but I didn't follow that. And seriously, if you're not revealing everything you kind of need to know about these characters in the main storyline, you can't start throwing full-motion video sequences of these two guys getting married and expect me to follow it. I seriously thought it was Julia, where, like, I don't know, where I thought Julia kind of came to her senses and fell for the big lug. I don't know. But yeah, apparently that was a mistake, and I never knew that until that very moment. To make up for the fact that I never had footage of that guy singing the music, I still kick myself for losing it. I asked the other critics from that guy with the glasses or Channel Awesome to kind of record footage of them getting all weepy, and I probably went a little too far with this one, but I still loved it. Ed Glazer, one of the most helpful guys I've run into since meeting the Channel Awesome crew. All these guys are really nice, but Ed Glazer from the beginning, like when my camera broke down, he offered to at least loan me a new one for a while, so amazing guy, and he's always there to give you advice. So I think his website is Dark Maze Studios. He made Press Start. I can't shill for that guy enough. He's not paying me, but believe me, the guy makes good movies, and he's couldn't ask for a nicer guy. Mike Michaud, similarly, when my website started going through a lot of troubles, DreamHost basically shut me down, and I was really starting to look for new hosting, which was going to cost me an arm and a leg, combine that with the cost of moving into a new place, utilities and all that stuff, I was really in trouble, thinking of basically shutting it down because I couldn't afford to keep it going anymore. I just wasn't making enough money, and it wasn't because you guys aren't donating. It's not because of that. It's because, my camera was gone. I couldn't afford to host the site anymore, and so Mike Michaud offered to host the site for me on his dedicated server, for which I am infinitely thankful, because the site gets a lot of traffic. And you guys are rabid fans, great visitors, and you keep the ad revenue coming, you keep the donations coming, and you're responsible for the cash flow for watching the videos, for putting up with those annoying ads. I know you hate them, but with the increased ads was also the increased need for a better server, and DreamHost just couldn't hack it. So thank you, Mike Michaud, and everyone at Channel Awesome for helping me keep the site going. Linkara offered, he actually surprised me by shooting this additional bit on top of his crying footage. He thought this was a really good idea to do, because I mentioned this was going to be my death scene in the event that I couldn't keep the site going. When I initially wrote this was going to be actually either my farewell, like from game reviewing, or the cliffhanger to which I would come back with the new set, the new camera, all that type of stuff. So Linkara shot this in the hopes that... maybe in the hopes that whether or not I got a new camera, or at least got a cheap camera, that I would come back. So I am coming back, and thanks, Linkara. Thank you, everyone, for watching.